Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to the Highlands in Scotland and we're going to revisit a brewery who are quite highly rated and with good reason in my experience. So for this one we're going to return to Cromarty Brewing Company from the Black Isle and we're having a taste of their Red Rocker. So this one comes in at 5% ABV and it's basically a red rye IPA, this one, and it's very highly rated, 90 overall in rate beer and 98 I think it was within the style, and this is one of their core beers and I've just never got around to actually trying this one or filming a review for it, so it's about time, and I'm looking forward to this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on it. I don't know why I never got around to this one, but we'll get that sorted now. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Cromarty Brewing Company before. No doubt I will add more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's been constantly added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Cromarty Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes. So as I mentioned to you earlier on, Cromarty Brewing Company are based on the Black Isle and they're about 20 miles to the north of Inverness, and historically the Black Isle was a region that was really famous for its malt production. A lot of it was used in whisky and beer that was brewed locally as well. It's just very, very good quality soil up there. But the original Cromarty Brewery was established by George and Alexander Ross back in 1790, and it's located next to a burn on the eastern extremity of the Cromarty village at the corner of Miller Road and Burnside Place. If you go and look at the brewery website, they do have pictures of it when it was very, very old, and they've got the picture of it in the modern day as well, which is quite cool. But it was actually quite a large brewery considering the times, and it's thought that the port at Cromarty was also used to export beer in addition to the grains and the cereals that the area was renowned for. But this brewery hit financial difficulties in the 1820s, and this was when several whisky distilleries were starting to open up on the Black Isle. There was sort of some tax incentive to actually get landowners to open up their own distilleries and stuff like this at the time, but this brewery unfortunately ceased operations in the 1850s. But this incarnation of it is a family run business which consists of Craig, Chap and Jenny Middleton, and they have hired some other staff since then. But Craig is a graduate of the brewing programme at Heriot-Watt University. He has some experience of working for Odell's Brewery and things like that, but while studying at Heriot-Watt he'd been well known to produce beer in his student halls, and his flatmates apparently really liked it, and that's what really encouraged him to actually go on and found his own business as well. But he worked for periods in Odell's Brewery in Colorado, and he also worked for the Cairngorm Brewery down in Aviemore. They're more of a kind of traditional brewery, whereas this brewery is a little bit more focused on the American styles of beer. But while working in these breweries, of course, he decided that he wanted to put his own beer on the market, and he applied for different grants and loans to actually finance funding the brewery, and it's gone very well for him so far. But Craig's dad, Chap, is the brewery engineer. He's quite involved in the maintenance side of the brewery and looks after the equipment and things like that, while his mum basically Jenny deals with the business side of things and the admin side of the brewery as well. And as I say, they've hired a few other staff since starting out, because they are starting to grow pretty well, and I think they actually export their beers to a few different countries as well. I think they're exporting over to America and things like that as well, but I'm not sure how far east they've gone. I've not seen their beers over in Europe so far actually, but I'm sure that'll maybe change in the future. They did have a little bit of a deal with Brewdog for a while, from what I understand. The Brewdog bars were selling quite a few of the Cromarty beers, but the work on the brewery building started in 2011, in the spring of 2011, and that year culminated with the production of the first casks on the 19th of December, just in time for Christmas. But as I say, they've grown quite a bit over the last little while, and their beers are, they're probably their best beers are the IPAs and things like that. The Rogue Wave, the Happy Chappy are the ones that I've enjoyed most. They've got a few other ones like Man Overboard, which is a really good beer as well. Black Hop Down is a really good black IPA, I would say, as well. I reviewed those quite recently, and that's where this brewery's strength is, really in the IPAs. They've been experimenting a little bit, I think, with with Berliner Weisses and things. The Udder Madness is another really good beer, but pretty much anything you're going to get from these guys is pretty solid, and they are starting to experiment a little bit more again, which is good, because there was a bit of a period where these guys, you know, they started off and their beers came out there and you were like, geez, these guys are good, but they didn't experiment in the same way for quite a wee while actually. But it's good to see that they are changing that about again, so we'll see how they get on in the future. But if you want to learn any more about these guys, check out the brewery website in the description below, and as I say, you won't be disappointed with any of the beers that you try from these guys. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Let's get on to the actual tasting of the beer itself. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before you open it up. There you can see Red Rocker, red rye hop extravaganza they're describing it as. Craig of course quite likes the surf apparently, so that's why they've got the wave on this one there. You can see that's on the bottle cap as well. On the back here it says, "Congratulations, by picking me up you're already on your way to being a true craft beer believer. I contain absolutely no additives, preservatives or cheap nasty ingredients. Instead I am jam-packed full of quality malts, international hops, Scottish water and fermented with our own house yeast strain. I am a red beer recklessly laced with American hops. I am the Red Rocker." So yeah, really nice. Best before 24th of the 5th 2019, so this bottle is actually pretty fresh, so looking forward to this. So let's get it out then and we'll get on with the tasting. I think the other beer that I really need to try from these guys is the Brewed Awakening, because I was at Ghost Town it was called, and that was the porter, which was really, really nice. But I definitely need to have a go of the Brewed Awakening. I'm sure that's a coffee stout, and that's meant to be really pretty good as well. But yeah, look at this. Looks really, really nice. You can smell some of these nice fruity notes coming out of the beer already. Incidentally, the malt base on this one is pale rye, crystal chocolate and carafa malts. We've got the brewery website open in front of me, and it's hopped with Summit, Columbus, Cascade and Nelson Sauvin. So a good mix of American and a little bit of New Zealand hop in there as well. I do love the Nelson Sauvin. But as you can see with this beer, I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see that with the camera, but if I hold this in front of the light, it's actually a really nice red ruby colour. You can see there's a solid 2/3 of a finger of what I would say is a frothy, kind of fawn coloured head actually. It's not quite beige, it is more of a fawn colour. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall, it does look really, really nice, and pretty much as you would expect from a red rye IPA. It does look absolutely lovely, and you can see the fruity notes that are coming off this are absolutely lovely as well. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on. Ooh, that smells good, it really does. So yeah, as you would expect, you can really smell that kind of rye quality to this one. That just underpins the whole beer. There's a little bit of a brown bready quality on top of that. There's a wee bit of a, yeah, there's a wee bit of that kind of brown sugar note in there. You can definitely pick up a little bit of caramel, maybe slightly toasted. I think the chocolate's coming out as well, to be honest, and you can pick up a little bit of the black malt, the kind of roasty black malty thing. That'll be the carafa sort of coming out. Those are kind of combining together, and it gives you almost that kind of smell that you would, you know, like of kind of powdered chocolate. It's like if you open up like a hot, the sort of sugary stuff that you have for hot chocolate, and you smell that. The aroma that's coming out of this one does remind me of that a little bit. But the chocolate's a little bit higher cocoa, I think, and it does have a little bit of that kind of black malty, roasty black malty note to it. Yeah, the malt base in this one smells really nice. Of course, on top of that, you do have a good little bit of hop. The hop, there's a little bit of a kind of slightly spicy floral note to it, but the fruits are quite prominent in this one. There's definitely a bit of red fruit in there. It almost has a little touch of a kind of figgy note to me, which is quite interesting. The red fruits, it's interesting when you mix Cascade with certain malts and things. Instead of giving you the grapefruits, it gives you a nice kind of red fruity character. It's almost got a little bit of a kind of pruny note to it, this beer. And you can actually get a little bit of the there's a little touch of the green grape coming out. It mixes, there's a light grassy note to this beer, and the sort of green grapey things that you would get normally from the Nelson Sauvin is kind of mixing in with that. It's a really interesting aroma, this one. It's quite complex actually, so as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. That's always half the experience with craft beer and whiskies and sakes and things like that. So just take a little bit of time and enjoy that. But let's have a taste of this beer then. So this is going to be my first ever taste of this beer. Never tried it before. This is the Red Rocker, a red rye IPA from the Cromarty Brewing Company in Cromarty on the Black Isle in the Highlands of Scotland. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, it's pretty nice, that actually. It's more malty than I was expecting actually. I mean, normally you would expect the red rye IPA to be quite a malty beer, but with what I know about Cromarty, I was expecting the hops to take the lead in this one. But it's a bit more balanced than that. It is kind of letting both sides of the coin really do their thing, which is nice. Yeah, I would say that, yeah, in fairness, when you let this one get going, the hops do start to take a bit of their, the hops do start to take a little bit more of a lead in it. Yeah. That's nice actually. I mean, have a go at this beer for yourself and see what you think. Let's try and break down the flavour a little bit. So for me, this one, it's interesting. I mean, as you go into the aftertaste, there's a little bit of there is a bit of that sort of grainy note coming out of it, and it's mixing together. The rye flavours that are kind of lingering there, they sort of mix a little bit with the black malt, which is really interesting. So yeah, that's it's nice. I just like how everything goes together in this one. So at the start of the beer, you get this nice sort of brown bready quality there, and that's got the rye is really kind of laced into that. The rye quality, just that forms the whole backbone of the malt base in this beer. But as the flavour progresses a little bit, you can feel there's a little bit of that roasty black malt quality coming out of it. That'll be the carafa that's giving it this. On top of that, you can pick up in the middle of the palate that it's kind of the chocolatey notes that are coming out, and it's, as I say, it's quite a sort of dark, almost powdered chocolate note that this beer has. And as you go from the centre of the palate out towards the edge of the tongue, you get a little bit of a kind of brown sugar note to this beer. There is a little bit of a kind of darker caramel. It's not too sweet actually. There's just a little bit of that there, and there's a wee touch of a kind of biscuity note coming out of the beer as well. And I think the sweetness to this one builds up a little bit as you drink more and more of it. When your mouth starts to adjust to the to this beer a little bit more, I think the malt base it slightly sweetens up a little bit and leans a bit. You get a little bit more kind of brown sugar out of it, which is nice. I like how everything's going together in this beer. This one's definitely one that's a little bit more about how all the different flavours kind of blend together. So on the hoppy side of things then with this one, I would say at the back corners of the palate there's a little bit of earthiness there, and then as you come further forward the earthiness does spread a little bit, but then as you get towards the front corners of the palate it is quite floral, and there is a little touch of a spicy note to that. And to be honest, that's quite good because it builds a little bit of a bridge between the sort of rye base with the little almost black malty flavours that the carafa's given it. It does give you a good bridge between the sort of bitterness from the malt base and the bitterness from the hops, and as you go round the very front curve of the palate it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. But yeah, as you go behind the front curve of the palate, that's of course where you get that little oily bubble where the nice juicy fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And for me, this one is kind of interesting. Yeah, so for me, there is a little bit of grapefruit kind of underpinning this beer, which is nice, and that'll be the cascade that's giving you that. But as you go further and further into the aftertaste, you start to get these kind of red fruity notes coming out of it. There's definitely a little bit of figgy quality. It's not got a kind of raisiny sharpness which you can sometimes get. For me it's more figs, and there is almost a little bit of like a kind of candied strawberry or something like that to this one. but you can, if you pay attention to that front part of your palate, you can feel, you can really get the sort of green grapey flavours. I'm not sure if it's right to call it green grapey or white grapey flavours, but you can really get those nice kind of grapey notes. Those lighter grapey notes from the Nelson Sauvin there as well. They're kind of mixing a little bit with that sort of figgy flavour and candied, the sort of candied red fruity note that comes out of this beer as you go further into the aftertaste. I never would have thought that actually, to add Nelson Sauvin to a red rye IPA. It's quite an interesting one because, you know, for me the Nelson Sauvin is probably one that you want to kind of mix a little bit with a sort of New England IPA, or a, you know, maybe a kind of lighter IPA, one that's not quite as caramelly. That, for me, that's when you really get the best out of the Nelson Sauvin. But it does work in this. It gives the beer a little bit more of that nice kind of complexity, and it's interesting because the grapes, I'm finding that the sort of grapey flavours are mixing really well with the kind of biscuity notes that this beer has, because you know, as you let this beer kind of, if you just let the flavours come out on your palate in the aftertaste, it really does get a little bit kind of biscuity and grainy, which is really interesting. This is definitely, I'd say this is probably one of the more complex beers that I've had from Cromarty. I mean, the Rogue Wave and the Happy Chappy are really straight up IPAs. They're really, really nice. This one does have a little bit of a complexity to it. I might be saying this is one of the more complex ones, but I would guess that the Brewed Awakening is probably really quite complex as well. But it kind of shows you that they know how to do the more malt forward beers as well, which is really good. I definitely like this one, and I'm sure I'll return to it at some point in the near future. But this one, for me, compared to the others that they do, this one's a little bit more about how all the flavours kind of blend together, if that makes sense. But they've done a really nice job of this one, and it's as I say, this is one of their core range beers, so it's one of the easier ones to come across. If you aged that a little bit, it would be really interesting to see. I mean, it's only 5.5%, right enough, but if you maybe gave it about 6 months or so in the bottle, I think that could be really quite interesting just to see how it matures. But yeah, a really nice beer, this one. I'm glad that I got to try it. So in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say mid-bodied. Yeah, mid-bodied. Carbonation's quite smooth on this one. It's a good balance, this one, between a wet mouthfeel and an oily mouthfeel. I think the water up there, you know, I always say, there's some people disagree that water can change the taste of a beer. I would disagree with them. Fundamentally, water does affect the flavour of a beer, and I think that's one of the things that I'm quite sensitive to as a Scot, to be honest, because I'm used to like really good quality water. But for me, you can taste a little bit the kind of quality of the water that you're getting in this one, which is probably why they've mentioned it on the bottle, to be honest. But with the malt base of this one, there's a good balance between the sort of grainy notes and the sweetness, but it does lean a little bit more towards the grainy kind of bitter side of things, this beer. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness as well, nice little bit of juicy fruits, but overall it's a really, really nice beer. It's an interesting red IPA, this one. The only other red rye IPA I can think of in Scotland is the Albino Squid Assassin that Brewdog have done. I'm not sure if anyone else has done a red rye IPA, but I'll definitely look out for a few more of them in the future, because it's a really interesting beer, this one, and not that many folk are producing them these days, so it's cool to see that Cromarty have kept one in their core range. But definitely a nice beer, one of the more complex ones that they do, and you know, you need to check out the Cromarty Brewing Company if you haven't already. So let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Cromarty Brewing Company as well. Hopefully I can review a few more of them in the fairly near future. I do need to have a look at the Brewed Awakening, because I've heard that's a really good beer. But once again, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media, but most importantly, do try some of the Scottish craft beers, and Cromarty Brewing Company are definitely one of the ones that you guys want to check out. So until the next time, it's Lange just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Skål.